Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's episode 7, and I think this is going to lead us into kind of our final 2 episodes that I think we really put the focus on, kind of moving all of our characters into where they need to be for the finale here. So episode 8, we kind of see Mel, right, who's once again been sidelined for some time, right? And one of my issues with the show, Mel's been kind of pretty much gone for most of the second act. So we see her; she's awakening her powers, right? So this is where we kind of get more of the backstory. Very little backstory, but at least some idea of kind of Amebssa and how they're connected with the Black Rose. So it's not a very good, or I think a very I would say effective way of explaining the story, but they kind of sprinkle a few things in there. And something I thought that was interesting that I think it took me 2 sittings to kind of see was Mel is the offspring of Amebssa and a mage that she had relations with.
Yeah, the illegitimate kid that they were talking about.
Yes, which I did find I did find to be interesting, even though we don't know much about this mage society in the Black Rose. Kind of interesting, and I think this just kind of furthers that idea that I can easily see Amebssa wanting to get knocked up by a mage in the idea that she would have a kid that had powers. That feels on brand for her, as crazy that is. But that makes a lot of sense. And we also see Mel kind of confronts her mother about everything that's happening with the Black Rose. And yeah, it they don't do a very good job of explaining it, and that's by far the weakest part for me. But it does happen.
I mean, but they also really don't go into too much detail and explain, who or what the Black Rose is. All we know is it's just this weird thing that wraps people in thorny things and then kills them.
Yeah, it's like a mage society, and then there's like this like weird magic realm that they go to. So yes, they don't really develop that or explain that, and we see that unfortunately throughout. So big missed opportunity there. I think everyone would agree with. And we also see kind of this. We kind of see the aftermath, right, of what happened at the Victor's commune after Jayce attacked him, and we see that our boy Vander is being kind of used as, I guess, like a way of keeping Victor alive. And this to me was one of the weirdest things because I really had to. I feel like because they're doing so much with all these characters, I had to kind of sit down and think about what exactly happened here. So the way I'm going to explain it, and you can please correct me if I'm wrong, because this is my interpretation of it. So Victor is in this weakened state. He needs Vander's life essence, blood, or whatever to kind of give him powers. And then Victor's kind of dealing with this idea that humanity is just like imperfect. So he wants to create this really perfect idea, but in order to do that, he needs the powers from like the Hex Gate that's in Piltover. So he solicits the help from Amebssa to give her army powers so he can do it. And Amebssa is also going to get the benefit of the powerful army. But yeah, that was the reason for it, and I just thought it was so convoluted. And I don't know. Were you rolling your eyes at this stage? Because it was so hard to follow kind of the character motivations here at the end.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're both getting what they want because Amebssa is getting a powerful army, and Victor is mainly using her as a distraction to get to the Hex core.
Yes.
Because if you think about both of them are after the same thing. They're after power, but in a very different sense. So
yes. The reasons behind their want for it is the confusing aspect of it. But yes, like ultimately it makes sense for them to kind of be these allies in this situation. So yeah, we have kind of that going on because ultimately Amebssa is going to be sending her forces with kind of her army, with the support of Victor, to go after Piltover. And we also see what kind of happens at the aftermath because, Jinx was super concerned with Vi's survival. And once she's able to bring her back, Jinx just kind of is like, throw me in jail. Like, that's it. Like, she's kind of lost, I think, her ideas, and she's, her losing Isha has really kind of shown that anything good that she has, she ruins, or at least that's the way that she looks at it. She ruins anything positive that's in her life, and she's, Isha was her other part of her family. So after watching, Vander get quote unquote killed, you have your fractured relationship with your sister, and now, Isha, who's been kind of your tether to your kind of humanity, is also gone, and that kind of puts her in this like really bad state. And you see, you see, Vi, meets her in the jail cell and is like still trying to support her, still wanting to be like, I see the good in you. And I like how she steals the keys and locks Vi behind, and she's just like, there is no good in me. Like, this is her moment. She's hit as low as she could possibly hit. And it's kind of made her, she wants to end her life. Like, she just doesn't see hope anymore. And I think that's what kind of brings her into the final episode. And then we also have, and I guess we cannot not talk about this, but we obviously won't go into anything super graphic. But we see Caitlyn shows up, knowing full well that Vi would never be able to stay away from Jinx no matter what. And they, how would I put this, rekindle their relationship in the jail cell. Which we won't go into anything specific with that, but I know obviously the internet definitely talked about that a lot.
It made every nerd's fantasy come true. Let's put it that way.
Yes. There definitely was. There was a lot of people I remember seeing like stuff about, release the director's cut of that scene, but like I said, won't get into too much detail. We also see kind of the interesting reconnection of Jayce and Mel, who have been pretty much not like, they've been pretty much like separated for most of the series. Where Jayce kind of shows up and just kind of happens to meet Mel here in Piltover. And they're, kind of having this discussion about everything that transpired. And then this is where we kind of get our first, well, not really our first glimpse, but this is where we see it in this reality, is this kind of like humanoid looking creature that attacks them. And I don't know if you got this, but I definitely got this. I understood this to be Huck, right? Huck, the guy that was infected with the shimmer. This is actually who I thought it was Huck. Did you get that too?
I really didn't get any vibes, but that's as good of an explanation as anything.
Okay, we'll go with that, right? I like that explanation because Huck was kind of the first one that I felt like was.
I think it was meant to be ambiguous. That was the thing. So.
Yeah. There's definitely ambiguity to it, right? Like, they're all kind of just faceless. They all look the same. So that absolutely was done on purpose. So maybe that's just me trying to be like, hey, this is a character that we know, and look what happened to the character. He's lost all semblance of his individuality. So I think that's maybe me putting too much into it, but I kind of looked at it like that. And this is where we kind of see like Mel actually using her powers for the first time as a mage. And this would be, very critical for kind of what happens in our final episode as they're fighting. And I like how, even though Jayce has been not very likable, I'm not like Jayce throughout much of the season, I do feel like he kind of rekindles at least some of his sanity at this kind of pivotal juncture. And I like how Jayce kind of brings everybody together. So you have the Piltovinites, I don't know, and the Zonites, they kind of like get together and they're like, hey, look, Amebssa, she's about to bring this powerful army here. Like, they have these, like, you know, crazy creatures that are super, super tough. And we're going to have to get together, and we have to put all of our differences aside and realize that if we don't take care of this now, everything's going to end.
It's just fun. It's just funny how Jayce, you know, when he comes back, he just expects everything to be hunky dory. It's like, oh, well, well, forget the fact that Piltover's on. You know, they're at each other's throats. Let's just put that aside in the name of brotherly love. To basically, it's like in season 8 of Game of Thrones, where, you know, all the kingdoms unite to kind of take on the White Walkers.
Yes,
so
I knew that reference was coming, and it's warranted, right? I agree with that. Now, I will say I do like that general mindset. I don't think the show should have gone that way, but I do like that mindset that there is this ultimately greater evil, and people have to put their BS to the side in order to deal with it.
It's an unnecessary greater evil, but, you know, it's whatever.
Yes, of course, yes, I totally agree. Like, it is an unnecessary greater evil. It's kind of like an Independence Day where, like, everyone gets together. It's like, okay, like, you know, we all hate each other, but you know what? These aliens are really bad, and we need to get rid of them. You know, I kind of looked at that in the same light.